Folks, this just might be the best footage I've ever seen of the entire rut sequence. Now, everybody talks about the rut being a chase phase where they're just going ballistic and acting crazy, but that's just not the case with mature bucks. Mike Minton and I are hunting Kentucky, and Mike is filming all this footage. And I'm telling you, he got some incredible footage. You notice the buck coming out into, this is a bed area, by the way, that he's overlooking. And when you see multiple bucks in and around a bed area like this, you pretty much know there's a hot doe in the area. You might not see her, but she's there. They know she's there. Now, this particular buck here, we nicknamed him Bully because he kept running all the other bucks off that tried to sneak in there. I'm sure this doe's bedded down somewhere in there, and you may never see her, but he knows exactly where she's at, and so do them other bucks. They using their nose trying to locate her, and Bully here ain't gonna have no part of it. He done claimed her for himself, and he's gonna take charge. This is pretty long footage, lengthy, but if you guys will just watch and pay attention to the sequences of these events, you'll understand a little bit more about what the actual rut includes. Notice he wants to stay next to the edge. Edges are important when it comes to a mature buck. It gives them escape routes. It allows them better visibility to both sides. This apparently is the doe that came right up under Mike's stand. And she's just, real nervous because there's multiple bucks around her. Maybe she isn't ready to stand yet, and she's probably been chased hard, so she's going to try to take cover in a spot, try to get away from all these bucks. Now here's a satellite buck trying to get in on the action, what they call satellite bucks. Notice how he runs up there in the thicket when he hears footsteps and tries to hide. He knows there's a bigger buck in the area. He can smell what's going on just as good as the big buck can smell he's in the area. They all know and they're aware of each other's presence. You can tell this buck is extremely nervous just by the way he acts. He doesn't want to get his butt whooped, but he does want to get in on the action. The instincts is pretty hard to override and take control of. Their instinct is to breed, and their instinct is to fight each other off for the breeding rights. I just thought this was some of the most incredible footage I believe I've ever seen, and Mike was pretty lucky to witness the entire event and watch it unfold. You guys kick back, watch, and enjoy. I might add a little bit that this happened over a 2-day event, and Mike is sitting on the side of the bed area overlooking from a distance. Now the next day he decides to move in and get a little closer on the other side. Watch how this buck is just moving like a ghost through the woods. It's just amazing to watch these mature bucks. Now you look at that rack on this deer and you say, well, he's not a mature buck. Yes sir, this is a bull of a buck. He's a big old bodied deer, and you can just see the neck swelled on him. It's hard to imagine this deer being a 140 class deer, but you're looking at probably a 140 inch deer, well over 200 pounds in body weight, 230 I'm guessing. Watch how he just stands there, motionless, surveying the whole area, keeping tabs on his doe, making sure the other bucks don't get in on the action. You'll see him constantly working that nose. Now if you were to witness this right here and this is all you've seen, you wouldn't think that it was the rut. You'd think this buck's probably just walking around smelling something, possibly smelling you, and you get all nervous about getting busted. But the truth is, he's just keeping tabs on her. Now this is the next day. Mike's moved to the other side, just inside the wood line, and this doe comes over and actually beds down right under his stand. Fellas, you can't get a better bait than this right here. I don't care where you go in the world, this is the best bait around. You can see how she keeps throwing her nose up in the air, constantly checking the scents of possibly other bucks in the area. He knows where she's at, although Mike has not seen the buck yet. But he's there somewhere. It's just a matter of time before he shows himself. These bucks, they don't go far, but they don't want to expose themselves to open woods. They like to stay in the thick edges, in the thick cover, and observe from a distance until it's time. When it's time, he'll know, and he'll go in there, he'll take charge, and he'll do what he's got to do to breed her, and then he'll go on to the next doe. And this may take 2 or 3 days. The rut, it's a 72-hour ordeal for a doe coming into heat and going out of heat. And she doesn't get bred, well, 28 days later she comes in heat again. She's constantly just surveying the area until she gets relaxed. And when she decides that the buck is taking charge and overlooking her presence, and she can relax enough to go to sleep, she will. And he'll watch and take, I guess, guard duty, you might say, while she sleeps. You know, I think most deer hunters really don't have the patience that it takes to hunt mature bucks under these conditions. Any conditions for that matter, because those mature bucks, they know how to survive. They don't take chances. They walk through the woods like a ghost most of the time. That's how they stay alive. You may see those young bucks out there trotting, zigzagging, running around like a hound dog chasing a rabbit, but you won't hardly see the big old mature bucks do that chasing until it's right at that moment before action's about to happen. Then he'll go in there, take over, do whatever he's got to do. A lot of them get killed right at that moment.
She's asleep.
Mike said she probably slept for about 2 hours, and then she got up and started milling around. He actually thought about getting out of his tree stand and coming on and getting lunch. Texted me and said she's up on her feet. Should I run her off or should I stay? I said, well, it's your choice. I'm glad he chose to stay, because then the buck shows up. Up until this point, he didn't have a clue that the deer was laying around there anywhere. Apparently he was bedded down watching the doe and keeping tabs on her the whole time. Now Mike and I are not sitting too far apart from each other at this moment. You just heard that tree falling in the woods. That tree fell right next to me and scared the mess out of me. I can't see anything that's going on over here on Mike's ridge at this moment. But he is in the hot seat, getting all the action. Notice the black hocks, the staining running all the way down the backs of his legs. When you see the hocks that black and the staining going all the way down the back of the leg like that, you know it's a mature buck. That's one good indicator. Now you see the doe, she's standing out in the open woods just a little bit, but that thick edge back there, that's where Bully wants to stay. He wants to stay real tight to that edge. He doesn't want to come out there in the open woods. But then she pulls a little trick that most of these big old mature bucks just can't stand. She's leaving him her calling card. Now, as bad as he wants to stay in that thicket, he's going to have to come out there and check her out. Do a lip curl on that ordeal. Pay attention right where she just urinated, because it won't be too long he'll have his nose in it. Now if you listen, you can hear all the squirrels in the background barking. Odds are they're not barking at these two deer, but some of the other satellite bucks that are trotting around the outer edges of this little event trying to get in on the action. Got squirrels a little bit upset. So when you hear the squirrels barking, a lot of times it can mean that there's a deer in the area. Now Mike just got started videoing some of his hunts this year. I kind of talked him into it. And he's not a pro by any means, but what a way to cut your teeth on trying to video. Some guys will go a whole lifetime and never see this kind of action in the woods, much less get it on video. So he's hit the jackpot right off the bat, if you ask me. I don't know exactly what triggered him to go over there the way he did, but we knew he was going to hit that urinating spot sooner or later and do a lip curl on it. That's what he's doing right now. He's licking that nose, checking her out. Now at this point he's got a couple of other bucks trying to get in on the action, so he still wants to stay next to that edge. He does not want to leave that edge. He feels more protected there. Everything in his world is a little bit more secure closer to the edge. That's something you always need to remember about big mature bucks, is they live on the edge. Now he's going to try to see if he can't work her over there a little bit closer to where he wants to be. You watch closely, you can see that buck lightly stomping his foot. He's not stomping it real hard, but he's letting that other buck know that he best not come over there and start messing around with his doe. They do a lot of different types of body language, vocalizations, all kinds of little P's and Q's that they read into each other, and they're constantly communicating. You and I might not be able to read the language or understand the language completely, but they all know what that language means. I find it very interesting to try to read and learn a deer's body language and what they're going to do. Sometimes if you learn it good enough, you'll know what they're going to do even before they do it. And right now he's going back to his edge where he wants to stay a little bit more comfortable. He don't feel good out there in the wide open woods. He'd rather stay just a little bit in the thicket. It's almost funny watching him. As much as he wants to stay in that thicket, he can't stand her being out there in the open woods. And you got some other bucks starting to circle around on the open woods side. They can't get to her from the thick side, so they're going to see if they can't circle around in the open woods side. He's looking at one right now, got his eyeball on one. It's always these little bucks that do the majority of the harassing of these big mature bucks. That's one thing I've always noticed. If another big mature buck came into the picture right now, there'd probably be a fight. Now right now Mike's got a lot of action going on around him. He's trying to stay on the buck, but at the same time he's trying to keep an eye on the other bucks, maybe slipping up around there, keeping tabs on everything. The camcorder that he was using, the battery just died on it. You may see a difference. Now he's using his cell phone, which I think is probably a lot better quality footage than that little camcorder that he had. You may notice different colors going in and out. That's the cloud cover going over and then the sun popping back out, back and forth. We just had a little bit of a rain come through that morning, and this is kind of after the front. One thing you might want to notice is all of this action is happening in a relatively small area, pretty confined. For whatever reason, this buck and doe has chose this area for protection against other bucks or their protection or all of the above, but they're not just running all over the place. If you're one ridge off, you could be completely out of the action, which is where I'm at the moment. And I believe the third time was a charm. I believe she actually got bred on that third attempt. Uh, he stopped, picked him up acorn. He's urinating on his hocks again, marking his territory, and they go back to kind of acting natural and normal again all of a sudden. And it's like that was the entire rut event right there. You just got to witness it. Is it over? No, he's going to stay with her and probably do it as many times as he can until he's certain that she's had enough of him, and then he'll go on. Guys, when you're out there trying to read the body language of these deer to determine whether they're in the rut or not, I'm gonna tell you it's not exactly science. There's no way you can possibly tell unless you're sitting there just patiently waiting for all the clues, because they can flip that light switch on and off in an instant. And when the light switch is on, everything's hot and active. And when it's off, it's right back to being normal. Even the young, annoying buck that was harassing the mess out of the older one earlier is all relaxed and acts like he ain't got a care in the world, just feeding on acorns and easing along. So next time you're out there in the woods and you think you're looking at the rut, kind of soak all this up. Pay attention. You might be looking at the rut and not even know it.